Welcome back to the deep dive. All right, today we're tackling a classic paper, a real giant in molecular biology. Szostak et al., 1983.
A foundational one, for sure.
It really is. And, if you think back to your genetics class, you probably learned that recombination, where chromosome swap info starts with a nice, polite little nick.
Just a single strand cut. Very neat, very tidy.
Exactly. Well, this paper just blows that whole idea out of the water. It turns out the process is kicked off by something way more violent, a double-strand break.
It was a complete paradigm shift. I mean, for nearly 20 years, the Holliday model was dogma.
The single-nick model.
The single-nick model. It felt elegant, it felt safe. The idea of a cell intentionally snapping its own DNA completely in half just seemed counterintuitive.
Almost self-destructive.
Right.
But the data just wasn't adding up with the old model.
Not at all. Szostak's team was working with yeast plasmids, these little rings of DNA, and they found that if they cut the ring open first...
So creating that double-strand break before putting it in the cell?
Precisely. When they did that, the transformation frequency just skyrocketed.
And we aren't talking about a small jump here. This was a massive effect.
Oh, massive. A 3,000-fold increase. You simply cannot ignore a number like that. The old model had no explanation for why all that destruction led to such efficient recombination.
So they needed a new model, one that could explain two very different outcomes they were seeing: crossing over and gene conversion.
Right. And they are really different things.
Okay, so crossing over, that's the classic swap, right?
Wow.
I give you my blue card, you give me your red one. We both trade.
Exactly. A clean, reciprocal exchange of genetic information. But gene conversion is, it's a whole different beast.
The weird one.
It's the weird one. Instead of swapping cards, it's like, I look at your card, throw mine away, and just copy yours. It's non-reciprocal.
So one version of the gene literally gets overwritten by the other.
Completely erased and replaced. And the puzzle was, how does a single physical process explain both the clean swap and this copy-paste event?
And this is where their double-strand break repair model comes in. So walk us through it. The DNA snaps in half. What's next?
So the cell's first move is strange. It doesn't just glue the ends back together. Special enzymes come in and actually chew back one of the strands on each side of the break.
Wait, they make it worse by creating a gap.
It seems like it, right? You're left with these long, single-stranded tails and a big chunk of missing information. You've deleted code.
That sounds bad.
It's a crisis. And to fix it, one of those hanging tails has to go find its partner, the homologous chromosome.
The backup copy.
In a way, yes. It physically invades the partner chromosome, pairs up with the matching sequence, and uses it as a template to synthesize new DNA, filling in that gap.
I see it. So that's the gene conversion. You're not fixing the break with the old info, you're copying the partner's info into the gap.
You've got it. You
Yeah.
have literally converted your gene to match the sequence on the other chromosome.
That makes perfect sense. But okay, that solves one problem and creates another. Now your two chromosomes are physically tangled together at the repair site.
They're knotted up. This creates a structure, well, two structures called Holliday junctions. You can think of them as two X-shaped crossroads that are holding the two chromosomes together.
So that brings us to the most important question for the cell.
It really is the critical choice.
You fix the gap, but you're stuck. How does the cell decide whether to just untangle everything and walk away, or to go for the full crossover and actually swap the chromosome arms?
It's a great question, and the answer is surprisingly geometric.
Geometry.
It all comes down to how the cell cuts those X-shaped junctions. Imagine you can cut the strands of the X, either vertically or horizontally.
Okay, north, south, or east, west.
Exactly. If both junctions are cut in the same direction, say both east-west, the chromosome's just separate. You're left with that little patch of gene conversion, but no major swap.
That's a non-crossover.
Right. But if they are cut in opposite directions, one east-west and the other north-south,
Then the chromosome arms are physically exchanged. That's the crossover.
that's the crossover. The whole fate of the chromosome depends on the angle of the final cuts.
That is just wild. And the implications of this model were huge, right? This went way beyond just understanding yeast.
Oh, absolutely. This paper basically provided the instruction manual for modern gene editing. It taught us that if you want to change a gene, the first thing you have to do is break it.
And then you supply your own template for the cell to use during the repair.
You're hijacking the exact process Szostak described. That's the fundamental logic behind CRISPR. We make a break, and we hand the cell the new text we want it to write into the gap.
It's amazing. A paper from 40 years ago is the blueprint for today's most cutting-edge technology. Okay, let's recap the big takeaways.
Let's do it.
First, recombination starts violently. It's a double-strand break, not a gentle nick.
Second, gene conversion isn't a mistake. It's a repair process. The cell fixes a dangerous gap by copying information from a partner chromosome.
And third, whether you get a full chromosome swap, a crossover or not, it all comes down to the geometry of how those two Holliday junctions are sliced apart.
That's the core of it. I'll leave you with one final thought, though. A little nuance.
There's always an exception to the rule.
Always. While this two-junction model is the gold standard, we later discovered that nature has other tricks. There are pathways where the cell can repair the DNA without forming two stable junctions, which allows it to avoid a crossover entirely. But, that's a story for another time.
We'll have to save it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Go easy on your DNA today.
Welcome to the Everyday Journal Club. I'm Hope, a biologist with 15 years of research experience, now fortunate to be working in a Nobel Prize-winning lab. This channel has three main goals. 1. To help you stay effortlessly updated on the latest scientific breakthroughs. No paywalls, no jargon overload. 2. To build a supportive community where we can exchange the most valuable experience-based research advice. 3. To share valuable strategies and concrete examples on how to achieve meaningful scientific breakthroughs. Once we reach 1,000 subscribers, I'll begin releasing content focused on the third goal. Let's go! Let's make great science together.